Hello, everyone. This is David Ellis, and I'm doing a professional highlight with one of the best healers I've seen for a little while. I love this woman's energy. I crept on her bio, and right now she's here to introduce herself. So, Jody, tell us about yourself, where you practice, and the modalities that you have studied and the ones that you practice.
Okay, so my name's Jody. I practice in Perth, Western Australia. But I do actually have clients across the world. Just marrying up time difference is a bit of a problem for me sometimes. And I've studied kinesiology, EFT, touch for health, theta healing. And all of that led me to a modality which is taught here in Perth, which is called ITA. It's Integrated Therapeutic Alignment, and that's all. It's basically a derivation of pranic healing, Reiki healing, that kind of energy healing. But I don't actually call it energy healing because I'm not doing the healing. I'm just harmonizing and aligning, and then the person who's receiving it does the actual physical healing. So
excellent. I love that. I love that, because a lot of people think that healing, there are a lot of people who advertise that they can heal you. I tend to think there's a lot of that going around. And so tell us a little bit more about energy healing, how it operates in your modalities, and what does a typical session like with you look like?
Okay, so basically from my end, what happens is I will look at your flows effectively. So I don't just do chakra healing or just do meridian healing. If that's appropriate, that's what I'll do. But I look at I generally have a conversation with someone for a little while, figure out what's going on in their belief systems, their psychology. Excellent. And at the same time I assess the energy, and I can usually see where there's blocks in the circuitry, blocks in the flow. And then it depends on the individual. I'll either do it directly, just full energy, just harmonize the whole system. And if I feel like they're self-responsible, if they're taking their healing seriously, that's probably what I'll do, because their belief systems, their way of working with life is going to support what I do. If they're not doing that, then it's to them it feels more like almost like a counseling session. So where we'll go through and work out where the impediments are and deal with it spiritually and psychologically, whilst I in the background move the energies and harmonize the system.
You know, for those of you watching this broadcast, now Jody has been watching our shows every once in a while, and she's made a few suggestions and so on. And I just knew that I needed to speak to this lady. Okay. And a few things you said there I want to go into, like, for instance, with regard to energy healers, they tend not to do the counseling aspect, right? It's like, but I think that's really important. I'm a psychotherapist myself. I'm a trained psychotherapist. And I think that knowing an individual's mental states and their approach to life is very important. So when you're doing energy healing and so on, it should not be a blind process, but a lot of people tend to make it into a blind process, right? I have done energy healing. I've trained in Reiki and a bunch of other modalities as well. Oh, I love the dog.
Yeah, sorry. She's a regular visitor in my clinic.
Also, luckiest dog on the planet to have a therapist right there. Anyway, so as I was saying, we tend to think of energy healing in different aspects. So when you're dealing with energy healings, what does ITA have to offer in terms of how it helps the individual heal themselves? Could you give us a little bit more information about ITA?
Yes, so ITA is probably the thing I'm mostly practicing, but I don't necessarily only do that. Even if I start a session out with the ITA, it often deviates to various other areas depending on what comes up. But it's effectively a modality that deals with a sequence. So it's not just dealing with your chakras or your meridians. It will deal with, it's hard to describe. It's like the chakras, meridians, higher energy points. It deals with the grid. It deals with your hara line, but it does it in a sequence order so that the ignitions in the body occur in a way that makes the subconscious mind start to question what's going on, which then over time allows the subconscious mind to resolve whatever the issue is that you're dealing with, because it opens it up and lets it in. So you don't have as much resistance from the subconscious mind. Having said that, the way that I practice is I usually try and get the conscious mind on board as well, because what will often happen is you can do a whole session with someone, they will walk away and they will recreate the thing that you've just harmonized out of their system.
Excellent.
So, yeah. So that's why I do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I see the conscious mind with various things, and then we work the energy to harmonize the system, which effectively dissolves and resolves blockages in circuitry and allows the body to heal itself.
Okay, what are the other modalities which you offer?
That's a tricky question, because effectively it's evolved into my own style.
Exactly.
But the stuff that I have studied, tapping, EFT, I've done a lot of work with the power of words as well.
Excellent.
So frequency statements, affirmations, and how the words integrate with the physical body and the energy body to create changes. So I really work from a point of view of, I can harmonize your system, I can see the blockages in your circuitry and I will resolve them, but you're doing the healing. So here's your side of it, which means that people get home care, often quite a bit of home care, which is good because they need to take ownership of what's going on. It's about personal empowerment and sovereignty.
No, I love that, the idea of empowerment, because I love the way you look from the point of view that the individual has to take responsibility. Now, here's the thing about healing that people don't know. A lot of people tend to go to healers and they sort of outsource their healing to other people. They sort of outsource their healing to other people and they don't take accountability for whatever situation that they're in. And a lot of healers actually make money doing that, right? A lot of healers
I would have
actually
to make more money if I did that. I have a lot of people turn up who say, this is what's going on, fix me. And I'm like, well, it doesn't actually work like that.
But there are a lot of healers who believe that they're in contact with some higher power and they market it that way. And that's a real problem. That's a real problem in the healing communities, because at the end of the day, people have to take accountability. So I love the way you've blended the coaching. Now, you said that you have clients all around the world. Do you do distance healing, and what is your opinion about it?
I think it has merit. It's different to in-person healing. So a lot of what I actually do is similar to what we're doing now. It's via video or it's full remote, where we'll set up a time and place to do it. I'll do it, and usually I'll send an email afterwards. And it's a very different experience for me and for the client. So it has merit, but I think there are a lot of people who say they're doing something and they're not.
I know exactly what you mean. And I love the way you just couched that really, 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 really well. A lot of people say that, like, this is what I find very interesting about this distance healing concept. The problem with distance healing is that there are people who say, well, yeah, that's fine, I'll do a ritual or whatever else, and you will receive healing. At some point in time, you won't feel anything, but you'll receive healing. And I'm like, oh my God, wow, how does that work? Because they say that to the client, and there is no in-person speaking to the client. There's no There's no background to medical history, as an example. Which is
Mm.
why when it is that in one of the countries that I lived in, I tried to get energy healing logged on to a paramedical council, because there should be some provision for energy healers. Okay.
Yeah, there should
Okay.
be an
But
accountability of some sort.
there should be an accountability of some sort, but there isn't. And so, as an
Mhm.
example, there's a whole bunch of energy healers who say, yes, I'll just like beam me up, Scotty. I'll beam up the healing and it'll just land on you at some point in time. That is not different than going to I don't know, a witch doctor or an Obia guy, right? It says, yeah, that's fine. You give me that money and healing is yours. I'm so happy to meet somebody who actually gets that and who is actually a healer, or who actually could actually debunk this concept. Because the truth of the matter is, I could take money from you and say that I'll send you the healing, and guess what? I could just be doing my groceries.
That's right. That's right. And that happens a lot, actually. And if one of my clients is consistently ordering remote healings, I mean, I have a specific protocol and a way of doing it. We set up the appointment. It doesn't always have to be a video appointment. It can be purely remote, where they know what time it's happening and I'll do it, but I'll send them an email with feedback afterwards. But if they're consistently doing that, at some point, I actually will insist we need to have a face-to-face or we need to have a video, because at certain points, the transmission changes because their reception changes, and I need to have an update on where they're at, you know. So yeah, it's almost a cop-out to continually have remotes. At a certain point, you actually need to have a recalibration of where you're at.
Yes, it's also a bit disingenuous on the part of the healer. I
agree with you.
Yeah, because it means that you're not really doing work. Your work is, if you are in integrity, your work would be actually setting time aside to actually do the intentional healing.
Absolutely, right? Yeah.
But there's no software or toggle that says, right now I'm doing your healing. Some people say, it'll come at some point in time, at a time that is suited for me, as an example. So I find that hilarious a lot of the times, and there are a whole bunch of people around the world who are very gullible, who will fall for that. Yeah.
Wow, absolutely. And I've experienced that. Like, some of my clients, will tell me terrible stories about how much they've spent on someone supposedly healing them. It's terrible.
Every week we try to rail against that on UCM, the exploitation of people. And it doesn't matter how many, like, I have received now dozens of emails, right? Because a lot of people see what we're doing and they're asking, David, what's happening? How do we get some sort of redress? Because they feel completely conned. We had a particularly egregious case a couple of weeks ago where I was emailed by an individual who said that they went to a healer who said that they will be sending them healing at a point in time of the healer's convenience. Did not tell them what time it is. And I had this image, right, of these people going shopping, like picking up brown rice, and then a bunch of healing energy just hitting them in the middle of the supermarket aisle and pinning them down to the supermarket. It was funny, right? And so we had a good laugh about this, and I said to the individuals, you need to ask for a refund or something along those lines. The professionalism is a problem when it is that you're dealing with energy healers, because it's not a modality that there's no precedent for that, right? Whether it be in law or in business, there's no precedent. You're basically selling an intangible, unquantifiable product.
Service, yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Basically selling intangible, unquantifiable service, right? I suppose you can quantify it by time spent, but then you don't know what the time spent if it's remote. So there's always that issue. So
and you're dealing with vulnerable people as well. So they're keen to believe what you tell them, which makes, if you're not on the level, you can very easily deceive people.
yes,
And
I know this.
it happens all the time. It's terrible. It's really bad.
Yes, it is. And then there are people who actually work with integrity that hold people accountable for their own healing. And I really, really appreciate what you just said, Jody. Listen, Jody, this is warming my heart to see that there are people that are acting with integrity out there. This is actually warming my heart. I am loving this interview. All right, so Jody, what are the services that you offer?
At the moment, on my website, I offer basically 3 services. So there's a frequency bath, which is an in-person service. And basically that was just, I put that on there because some people just don't want the coaching. They don't want the counseling. And that's fine. If you're actually taking responsibility for your life and you're self-accountable and parenting the self really, really well, let's just do frequency bath. That's fine. So that's basically pure energy session. And then you get the energy healing, which is an in-person type healing, or you get a full remote, which could be a video, or it could be, we'll set up a time and space. I'll do it and I'll email you afterwards. But I'm also putting together I suppose you'd call it a supported self-healing package, which is basically, it'll be a couple of sessions and then I'll write you a personal prism, which you guys call revocations. And that will be a journey type thing. This is where you started. We'll meet again in a couple of weeks. Where are you at? What do you need from there? And we'll take it from there. So that's your taking self-responsibility for your healing. And I will use my skill set, let's say, and aid you in that area. Because one of the things that I actually can do is, so I don't call myself a channeler. I don't call myself a medium. I don't proclaim to do any of that stuff.
Oh my, I'm really loving you now. No labels. Thank you. Go, please continue.
Yeah. But as it turns out, when I connect with someone, if they need something, I've got a skill set where I connect into something else, and it will come through either usually in the email afterwards. Very often, if they need it, because I work with words, I will be able to write a revocation which is personalized for them. And it will be, a lot of the stuff will be sort of surprising to them. They may not identify with it originally, but it's come from beyond somehow. Like colloquially, I say, my guides and guardians talk to your guides and guardians, and we come to some sort of like agreement about what you need, which is not domination. It's not me saying this is what you must have. It's just like, you understand the concept of guides and guardians, so this is the words I'm using, right? So yeah, that's kind of the package that I'm putting together at the moment, because I really, really like working with people who take responsibility for their healing. It's the only way to really get forward. It's the only way to heal yourself. You have to be involved.
Yeah, here are a few of the stories that come through my email. So I've heard of energy healers telling people, well, we can take demons out of you and put them in the lake outside your house. Like these things are actually happening. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I don't
so that's what we talk about people who are telling clients they could take the demons out of them and put them in the lake and stuff like that. And I'm like, who says that? There might have been a few steps that I missed in my energy healing when I was trained as an energy healer, but I don't seem to remember anything about exorcisms as well. And I'm like, wow. And then that's another crutch that you're giving people. It's not me taking responsibility for my life. It's the demon that's making me do things, which sounds. Yeah, go ahead.
I do tend to deal with people's, what I call parasites. So their belief systems and their programs that have created modes of behavior. And sometimes those modes of behavior are so strong, they're almost like a sub-personality in the person. With that stuff, I don't need to go in there and say, get out, get out. I just need to talk to the person and say, hey, you need to be present and take sovereignty, and this is how we're going to do it. Because when you are present with the self, those interferences, those blockages, those things that encourage behavior that you then regret disappear, diminish, become less powerful, whatever you want to call it. Because when you're present, when you know who you are, and when you can self-parent from an empowered, sovereign point of view, you notice when you're doing that. And you think to the self, okay, noticed, let's not do that again. And you self-correct in that way. But that only comes with self-worth, with self-confidence and personal observation. And if you're not doing that, then why are you here?
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Jody. Thank you for the service. I have a few other questions. What does a typical session with you look like? How do people, from the start to the finish, people contact you and say, I have a problem? Walk us through that.
Yeah, look, if it's an in-person session, usually people contact me. They'll say, you know, so-and-so sent me whatever. A lot of the time people don't tell me what they're coming to me for when they first contact me. That's through a conversation that comes out. If they want a pure remote, we need to know what you want to target. So we will have the email or video conversation about what you want to target. And then we'll set up a time and place. They'll either come to my clinic and we'll do it face-to-face, or we'll have a video call, and or we'll just have time and place is set up and I'll do the remote and send them an email afterwards. As a general rule, if you're physically in the clinic, what you experience is not necessarily all that's happening. It may seem to you like we're having a chat, but there's other stuff going on. And 90% of the time we'll have a chat for a while, and then I'll get you on the table and do an energy realignment, a harmonization. Or we'll just be talking for maybe 45 minutes, an hour. But while that's happening, I'm observing the flows and the circuitry and figuring out what your system can handle right now and how far we can go, basically. So to some people, it feels like a chat. To other people, it's this whole energetic experience. But usually it's incredibly relaxing. And afterwards you feel empowered and you feel calmer than usual. And you feel more present. You feel more you. Often, actually, the best way to describe it is you feel more hopeful.
Yes, understood. Understood. And so I suppose the next question is, so when it is that people contact you, they contact you usually through your website or through email, is that correct? Well, yes. We're going to ask you to give your details in a little while, because we are going to probably be live streaming this to social media. Apart from that, what we want to do is ask you, how did you get into all of this, Jody?
I've been, okay, if you believe my father, I've been talking to fairies since I was like 2. I don't generally, around, you know, the family and whatnot, talk about who I engage with in the unseen, but I've been engaging with the unseen for a long, long time. My sister-in-law did kinesiology, and she was telling me, oh, this is great, you know, you've got this muscle testing protocol and you do this, this and this. And I thought, that sounds pretty good to validate the experiences I'm having. And so that's how I got into that. And I started learning muscle testing through Touch for Health and then through kinesiology. And I just found it so natural And in kinesiology, the way it is kind of like a structured protocol. You do muscle testing to Q&A with the body. And there is this idea that the body doesn't lie. But I actually would dispute that. The body doesn't lie, but it is a pedant. If you don't ask the right question, it won't give you the answer you're looking for.
Agreed.
It won't give you the correct answer. So you need to have a bit of detective work about you to figure out how to ask the body in order to get a truthful answer. And so through all this experimenting, what I discovered was I generally don't need to use kinesiology. It's just kind of one of these things that I'm naturally adept at. But I didn't know that. I thought everyone could do it. Apparently they can't. Well, they can, they just need to train in it, you know. And I don't mean kinesiology, I mean get present, be peaceful, find calm. That's the training you need.
Impressive. I'm speechless actually. It's not very often that I meet a high-level practitioner like yourself who actually understands these concepts. I have met a lot of people who still do the waving your arms around, you are instantly healed thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad, Jody, it's bad. Because I work in this broadcast industry, so I meet a lot of people. And it's not very often that I have this kind of high level. There are people who are naturally adept healers, which would bring us to our next topic. In terms of like professional standards, I could just look and see that you have like a professional level of integrity to you. Like, what are the things that you would advise other practitioners out there if they have practices or they want to set up practices of their own? What are the things that you would advise them to adopt in terms of professional standards, in terms of how they interact with their clients and such like?
Gosh, that's a tough question. I do think that the first thing you should always know is it's not you. You're not doing it. You're not magic. You're not a guru. You're just someone who happens to have known a bit more than the person coming to you.
Oh my God, I love this woman. Go ahead. Sorry.
And so, you know, it's not an ego trip. And if you have clients who are worshiping you, you actually probably don't need to see that client. They need to see somebody else, because it's not an ego trip. It is just a helping hand. You know, that's the biggest thing for me. And the opposite of that, don't sacrifice yourself to your client. You're an independent human being yourself. It's not about martyrship either. So you're not a guru and you're not a martyr. You're just helping somebody else find their own sovereignty.
Yes, I think that's
the biggest thing.
And I think that the ego aspect of seeing your clients either improve. There are a lot of healers who start out very well. Yeah. They have some success with clients, and then they start marketing themselves as the only one, the one with the system. And so I look at these things and I'm like, there's no Hippocratic oath for healers, but there really should be.
Yes, I totally agree. Like,
and one of them should be like to approach your clients with integrity, because but it doesn't matter what you learn, whether it be Reiki, whether it be quantum healing and so on. The concept is that you are the vehicle that is speaking to the individual, and that's what you are, right? To derive props and whatever from somebody else's healing, it's kind of like stealing the credit from the individual who has done the healing, and that's disingenuous. And I love the fact that you make that distinction. If so, I'm going to ask you from the other side. If you are a client looking for a healer, yes, you knew that was going to come. If you're a client looking for a healer, what are the things that you should actually look for?
Truthfully, it's as simple as look for humility. If someone is saying, I've got it all, I know it all, and I can heal you, you don't trust that, because if they may be able to quote unquote heal you by delivering the harmonization and the conscious seeding of the belief systems, the ideas that you need to heal yourself. But essentially, if they're saying, I've got it all and I can heal you, that person's got an issue with ego, or, and this is going to sound a little bit insulting, they're tiny little babies who are brand new to the system, and as in the energy healing protocol, energy healing area, and they don't yet understand how to get themselves out of the process that you're doing. And when you deal with the client, you're entangling with their energies. You're forming a circuit for the moment that you're dealing with them. After that, you should be completely disentangling and allowing them to go on their way and do their thing. New practitioners, and I know it sounds offensive, and I don't mean it that way.
No, you can actually, this is UCM. You say what you like, my dear. You may say what you want.
But they don't yet get, it's not you, step away. And so if a client is dealing with someone who is promising them the world, you're dealing with an ego. Get out as fast as you can.
Agreed.
Find someone who lets you be you and go through your journey.
Yeah, because there are a lot of people, and I have actually seen this because I've been around the world of esoterics and the world of healing for a little while, who trail people along on some sort of installment plan for years and years and years, and the individuals are not getting any better. But they think that if I pay a little bit more, and I'm like, that's not different than those Christian healers who charge people through tithes and offerings, and your level of healing is dependent on how much money you put in. I am like, wow, there are people that are minting money, right? And the immodesty of that is when they victim blame the client. Like, you're not really invested in your own healing. If you were really invested, you'd put more money in. You'd take this course.
Well, that's the wrong type of investment, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you've got to be invested by being sovereign and present, you know?
Right? That's the wrong kind of investment, because you can't throw money at healing. You absolutely cannot. And so I have seen this because clients actually send me the messages that they've received, and I'm reading it. I'm like, you need to take my course, this course or that course, and so on. My extra special healing, supercharged, turbo boosted course, right? In healing. I'm like, no. What they need to do is take accountability for their own healing. And put effort into themselves. And as I said, there's no Hippocratic oath for energy healers. There really isn't. And it would be very difficult to make one because of the wide variety of energy healing systems that they are out there. There's no centralized area. But I think with people like you out there, some sort of, and us trying to put that out there, that people have to be accountable for their own healing. And something can develop where people's discernment and understanding of how energy healing works is augmented, so to speak, or informed at least.
You guys have been brilliant for that, actually. Just basically saying there's a lot of nonsense out there and there's a lot of charlatans. So not only people practicing without respect, but just like the understanding that people have about new age concepts sometimes. I'm like, why do you even think that that's true? You know, like I have clients come in and say, oh, I've been asking my angels for this, this, and this. And I'm like, well, don't ask, do. You know, you can connect with your unseen, that's fine, but you're still living the life. You're the human. You're the one that's here. Get on with it. Do something.
Correct. No, that I understand at 100%. Part of the reason is that because this is a sort of vague area. Energy healing has come into its own, yes, but because this is a vague area for a lot of people don't know. Like, as a regular individual who has gone to modern medicine, they can't find anything wrong with me, right? I go to an energy healer, but I don't know. So I have to accept what the energy healer says. So there's a kind of ignorance. And so what we're doing with these broadcasts, whether you see them VIP, is informing people with regard to the scopes of practice and the parameters, which actually you've been brilliant on this interview to give us some sort of scope of practice where people can be at least informed as to the decisions that they are making. Okay. So a lot of people don't know, well, I guess I'm supposed to feel something. And for a lot of the people who are swindling them, they're hoping that psychosomatics play out. Okay.
Yes. The placebo effect as well.
Yes. Yeah. They're hoping that the psychosomatics play out. I'm doing something about my healing, therefore I feel better.
Yeah.
And there's nothing genuine happening there except the client relapses and they said, well, I was getting better, but then I relapse, and they doubt themselves. And so they go back to the energy healer, and the energy healer doesn't do the bottom work that you're doing, right? They're not going to ask the client any questions and so on. It's like, well, you're feeling better. Did you slack off? You know, you shouldn't slack off of your healing, and therefore you need to pay me more money. These are the kinds of things these are the kinds of things that are happening. And I'm like, I sit down and I'm like, wow. And you want to know something, Jody? It makes everybody look bad. It makes everybody look bad.
And it makes it look like what I'm doing is, a clown show. And it actually has huge validity and it works. But it's not me doing it to you. I can't do anything to you except for harmonize your energies and bring to light your impediments, let's say, your blockages. But you need to do the rest of it yourself because it's your system and it's your journey. So, it's, self-responsibility is where it's at.
I also want to take a little bit of an education here. When practitioners use word salad, the fact that you're laughing, you know exactly where I'm going with that. So let me explain word salad to you guys who are watching this broadcast. Word salad is kind of like when I tell you the intersectual cosmic rays of a particular planet. Let's say, can you create a planet? Help me with this, Jody. Venus, right? Will connect with your moon in Sagittarius, and then all of a sudden you'll receive the super orgasmic, I wouldn't even say orgasmic, the super orgasmic healing energy from Taurus. And then all of a sudden you will be healed. But what it would feel, but you might not feel anything, but that's what's happening in the unseen, right? That's word salad. This lady did not use word salad on this broadcast, not even once. She's talking to you in very, very plain English so that you guys can understand what she's talking about. She's not making up shit and throwing it at the wall. And so I really respect you for that because it puts you on. Oh my God. I can't stop laughing at that because I've seen so much of that. It's like, it makes me laugh, right?
I try sometimes to explain things to people and I end up having to use word salad words. I end up having to use very superficial, airy-fairy, twee, new age words because that's the only word they understand.
Agreed.
And I, as I'm saying, I'm inside, I'm cringing. It's like, oh no.
Oh God. Listen, Jody, the only people that works on are people who don't know the energy systems very well. So if you meet somebody who comes from an astrological basis, you might use those words. Somebody who comes from a new age or a metaphysical basis, right? But an average person walking into your clinic needs to know the basics and the mechanics and the anatomy of what is happening in an actual session. And so a lot of people can't break out of that mold because they're so used to the word salad that they throw this at people. It confuses them because it gives them the brain seizure effect.
Yes, and it makes the practitioner bamboozle the clients, and it actually makes them feel superior and more educated and superior than they actually are in the environment they're working in. So, and again, I don't mean that disrespectfully, you know, because we've all got huge amounts to learn. It's a never-ending learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, there are ways to bamboozle people who don't know anything, and you can do it very, very easily with word salad. And you pluck a few big words out of the air that they don't really understand the meaning of, and you string it together, and it sounds credible. It sounds like powerful. So
yeah. And I think a lot of the healing, the psychosomatic or the placebo effect, relies on the fact that this practitioner sounds so much smarter than I am.
Yeah, they're so convincing. They really know what they're talking about. Yeah.
Look, I actually laugh at these things, and I understand that people have definitions in whatever modality that they're practicing. What tips me off when somebody does stuff like that is the following. What tips me off is when I use those big words, but I don't break it down for the client who's paying me money.
Yeah.
Right? If somebody is paying you money, then you should break it down, or else you're not really different from modern medicine when it is that they write your prescription and you have doxycycline as an example. What does that mean? How many people are going to study Latin to know what the prefixes and the suffixes are? Okay. And if they break it down, it might not be part of their belief system as an example. And so if I use technical jargon of whatever modality that I am practicing, and there's a lot of technical jargon that would be in my head. I've not only studied the healing sciences, I've also studied the esoteric sciences, but I like to keep things simple, keep it basic for people, because what you're doing when you use a word salad is that you're trying to do two things. You're giving the client or a kind of brain seizure where they're like, oh, okay, that sounds really impressive. Oh my God, I'm getting really getting a bang for my buck.
Yes. That's the aim though, isn't it? Like to impress them.
Right.
Again, ego shit. Oops, sorry.
You can absolutely say this, right? That's the first thing. And the second thing, the ego of the practitioner is inflated because I know these words and what they mean, but you don't.
Yeah.
So it's
and
a
you
kind of
see them
talking
be
down to
bamboozled,
the
it makes you feel cleverer. You know, it's very uncool, I say.
It's uncool. Yes, it is. And I think the biggest danger of all of that stuff is that I used to work in corporate. Okay. You're probably wondering, but David, why? You know what that environment is like.
I worked in corporate and I do wonder why.
Yeah. I used to work in corporate like yourself. And here is the thing. If you try to bring, let's say, a healing workshop to a corporate environment, they're like, no. And it is because they lack the respect for the healing sciences and the esoteric sciences because of the way a lot of people present themselves in the public eye.
Yeah.
They come across as arrogant, they come across as whatever, and it's all about me. Look at me, I'm the boss healer of the 22nd century. There are lots of healing practitioners out there. Some of them are very skilled and a lot of them are humble. You want to look for a practitioner who is actually humble, who can speak to you like this lady has spoken to you right now in plain, simple English, not trying to corner you, not trying to do anything else. And she didn't reach out to us. We reached out to her.
Yeah.
We reached out to her because I have been speaking to Jody off and on. She's in Australia, in Perth, Australia. we've been speaking to each other off and on and so on. And then I looked at her website. I'm like, yes, exactly. Yes,
Thank you.
that's what I want to interview. And I'll tell you why I did that, because I looked at the website and Jody hardly has a picture of herself on a website because it's not about her. It's about what she's doing. It's not about her. You're not going to Jody, right? You're not going to Jody because Jody is the master healer race person. You're going to what she can do. It's not about what you look like. It's about what you can do. And so we reached out to her specifically to do this interview. And I really thank you for coming on this UCM VIP broadcast, because I want to ask you, Jody, please give these people a way to contact you so that they can actually go to someone who has the humility on board, who can explain their conditions and stuff to them. Thank you so much for being here. Please give these people some way of contacting you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're so kind, David. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So my website is www.purecare.com.au. And if you wanted to just email me directly, it's jodi@purecare.com.au. So yeah, that's probably the best way to get me.
Excellent. Jody, this has been fun. For those of you who don't know how this whole thing developed, I just wanted to meet Jody. Like I just wanted to meet Jody. This morning, it's 7 o'clock in the morning where I am. I don't know what time it is where she is. It's after work, I assume. Right? I just wanted to meet Jody, and then we started to talk for about 5 minutes. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to get changed and I'm going to record this interview.
Yes, you got me.
Stream it to social media. I am absolutely going to do that. That was an impromptu interview, so I absolutely put her on the spot.
Yeah.
I apologize for that, by the way. I absolutely put her on the spot, and I love what has become of this interview. Listen, Jody, we are planning an energy roundtable, and we've built a community, right? We would love to have you as part of the community. We're sending you an invite as as one of the resident healers out there that people can go to. Is that something that you would be interested in? Because I want to expose you to people, because here's the thing, if I didn't reach out to you, a lot of people wouldn't know that you exist.
Yes, I actually have been told by the guides that I work with, just under the radar, keep it small. So that's why no pictures, there's no advertising, there's no marketing. I've got a Facebook book feed, but yeah, basically I don't do the guru thing. I'm not interested in it.
Yeah, that's why we're here. We're finding people like you with humility on board. Thank you so much, Jody. Listen, I don't know what to say. This has been a wonderful interview. I want you to come back and do a little bit more in-depth interview at some point in time on a specific kind of healing. That's the next thing. We have a community. We're sending you an invite to that community. We have recreated that Facebook experience, and we've augmented it with free resources for people. So if you are having workshops and stuff like that, or if you're interested in giving a workshop with UCM and so on, we would absolutely love to make that happen, right?
Yeah.
As a public service more than anything else. Thank you so much, Jody. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And guys, once again, if you wanted to contact Jody, she's given you the website. We'll probably put it in the description below. And we will be back with another professional highlight at some point in time on another modality. But this is Jody. She's an excellent healer and she's a decent person. Thank you so much, Jody.
Thank you.
Okay, bye, guys.